Welcome back to another episode of All Things Everything presented by Gulf Coast Smoke. My name is Alonzo.
And I'm Sabrina.
And this is episode 64. And as we were starting this, I was kind of thinking, why do I do the, ooh, welcome? You know what I mean? I don't know why I kind of roll that W just a little bit. But anyway, how's your week going so far?
Oh, man, I am tired. I don't know about you, but...
No, I'm exhausted. I don't even know how to explain it, but I have still not been able to recover from this past weekend. So if you guys follow us and you know what we did this past weekend, or if you don't, I guess, we had our very first ever we had our very first ever competition barbecue class. And it was, what are the words I want to say? It was incredible, amazing, so much fun. We had a blast. It felt like a very successful event, and I'm ready to do it again. But it was very, very tiring, and it's because it took us days and days and days to get ready for that. So we had so many things go into it. I don't want to say too much about it, right? Because, again, we mentioned this before. We have to be really careful about the information we release, especially because people paid to come to the class. So we want to be very respectful of that. But I'll just say that Sabrina and I had a lot of moving parts in this class. And so there was a lot of things that we had to do in order to get ready and make sure it was a successful class. And I don't know how to explain it, but it just took a long time. For us to get ready, it took a long time, in my opinion at least, and not in a bad way. I think that next time it will be a lot easier. For example, we have all the electronic stuff set up. I mean, set up but not set up. You know what I mean, right? Like at least the hardware part of it is ready to go, and we're ready to do it again. But, I mean, what did you think about the whole process of it leading up to the class?
Well, yeah, so normally when we have an actual competition to go to, everything is, for the most part, already in the trailer. If it's not in the trailer, we know what needs to be put in there or what needs to be loaded in my car. The stocking up on any of our ingredients is usually the same process because we know exactly what we need for a competition. Now, with the class, though, there's extra things you need in it. It's not just about the competition ingredients and supplies. It's about,
the plates.
Right, just making sure we had everything to actually run a class. We had, our cameras there for different angles and everything. And so there's just, now we have brought our cameras to competitions and filmed, but this was in a different way. So yeah, there was a lot of extra parts that aren't included in a typical competition, right? And so, it did feel like more work. And not only that, but it was like setting up and then breaking everything down and taking it home. And normally when we go to a competition, trailer's right there, everything's right outside of it. We just load it back in, right? But no, this was, bringing stuff from the house, driving it, taking it from the car, inside the building, taking it from the room, all the way outside to the car. So yeah, it felt like twice as draining as an actual competition.
No doubt. I 100% agree with you on that. If you guys want to give a class, do it. 100% do it. It's very fulfilling. I mentioned this in our post on the Gulf Coast Smoke page, but to me, it was the most fulfilling thing that we've done in barbecue so far. We've done some cool stuff, right? We've hit a first place call at some cool locations. We've had a couple of videos go viral. We've, won GCs, our first GC, all that stuff. Very meaningful, very awesome. But there was something very fulfilling about this and us being able to teach this class and know that these people actually really enjoyed it. And we know that because we gave them a feedback form. And I told everybody, I said, please be blatantly honest with me. I want this class to be an experience. I want this to be something that you would recommend to others. And, we got some really, really good feedback, which makes me feel very positive because it was our first one ever. And I think they're only going to get better. I really, truly do. But, it was an experience all the way through, from us preparing to us doing it to us, the aftermath of it. Everything was an experience. And, you and I come away from that realizing that we can do this and people will enjoy it, and we do have something to offer, and there is somewhat of a market for it. So, and if you guys want to give a class, if anyone's asking you to give a class, if you have multiple people asking you to give a class, by all means, absolutely feel like you can do it. Be confident doing it. Put on a good class and, man, teach somebody about barbecue. That's the funnest and the most fulfilling thing. You know, another thing, and I've told you this, Sabrina, I might have said it on the podcast and I might have said it somewhere, but man, I always wanted to be a golf coach. I wanted to give golf lessons. I wanted to be a teacher, but that didn't pan out for me. But barbecue still has a chance for us.
3 things. What do you think was the most challenging aspect of the class?
Sure.
What was your favorite part of the class? And what would you change for next time, if anything?
The most challenging part, in my opinion, was performing while answering questions. So, because, okay, so you kind of get lost in the class aspect of it, but then you're still cooking at the same exact time. And you, for example, let's just say you ask me, why did you trim your money muscle like that? Well, I do it because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And in between then you're like, oh, snap, like my chicken's been on for 50 minutes and I usually check on it at 45. So you do not want to mess up this cook in front of everybody. That, in my opinion, would be awful. And that's a little bit of pressure. And it's different pressure than us going to a contest and trying to win. Because in my opinion, you and I spend our own money to go out, try to compete. And if we lose, well, we know it was us. We know that we messed up. Maybe I overcooked the brisket or I made the ribs too tender or whatever. But with this, people are coming to us to learn from us. We had people from New Mexico. We had people from Arkansas come. And you do not want to give them food that is not good. You do not want to feed them barbecue that is not excellent. And I would say that that was the hardest thing, is that you're trying to answer these questions and you're trying to give them specific details on why you do things, because that's what you signed up to do. You want to put on a class, you signed up to do these things, but at the same time, you have to cook it well. And I'm not saying that you can't do it, but it's just one of those things where it's like they show up, and the first thing I told everybody was like, hey, you know, well, I told them a few things, but I also did say, I said, like, Sabrina is a part of this team. It is, yes, it's GCS. You guys might think I'm the head pit master, and maybe technically on paper I am, but I heavily rely on her. So even if I was like, hey, Sabrina, go check the brisket, I would feel confident in you doing that, but I rely on you to do other things too, right? So it's like, for example, when we're 20 minutes before wrapping ribs, like, you have something that you do. I know what you do. I know how to do it. I know the exact process, but I don't do it. That's your thing. So navigating through that was just a little bit difficult, but I will say that I feel like I picked it up pretty quickly, and I don't catch me saying something dumb, but man, that cook, I would have felt very confident like we could have won a contest with that cook that day. It was, in my opinion, the chicken was incredible. We got really, really good feedback on the chicken as well from everybody there, which was great because we've been working on it. Our ribs were our ribs, our pork was our pork, and our brisket was our brisket, which is always, at least in my opinion, solid. It was good. It was very good. So I felt great about the cook. I really do feel like if we showed up to a contest and cooked that, we have a very, very, very good chance to win. So, but yeah, that would have been the hardest thing for me. And what was your second question?
Your favorite part.
My favorite part was, just literally teaching, right? And, you know, it's one of those things, you and I talked about it a little bit. Skepticism is not the word I'm looking for. Maybe if you guys think of a better one, drop it in the comments. But there was times when I was explaining some things and I could feel like the room didn't think is the wrong way to say it. Maybe they were unsure if it was going to work the way I was saying that it was going to, right? And then, but this is like, why, again, it's hard to say it without giving like a specific detail, but for example, the way I inject pork, I feel comfortable talking about this one because we've done videos on it on YouTube. I put it in my hand. I make sure that I'm injecting specific muscles. I have a specific way that I do it. And I even told them, I'm like, you'll be able to see something in the end by the way that I injected this. And lo and behold, you absolutely could. And that's just, it's just when you're telling them something and then it actually comes to life, that is a really good feeling, because it was very easy for me to answer all the questions that they had because, we do this, right? Like, this is our process. We've really done it pretty much the same way for a long time. Minor tweaks here and there. Recipe has changed a little bit here and there. A little more trifecta, a little less trifecta, a little Southern Belle, a little more Southern hospitality, whatever it is. We've gone back and forth on ribs. Sometimes they have trifecta on them. Sometimes they have Southern hospitality on them. Little things here and there are going to change, but it was very fulfilling to tell them something, be able to nail the cook and bring that to life as well. So that was cool. And the thing that I would change, I think there's a few things that I would change. I don't think anything was bad by any means, but man, I sure would like to have a couple extra TVs. And that to me is, it's difficult because it's like, man, there's just more money going into it. But again, I want this to be an experience where every single person that walks in just feels like they got their money's worth and some. I want them to feel like, man, I didn't pay enough for that. And I'm being completely genuine when I say that, because I think that, I've talked about this before. Eventually, one of these days, I'm not going to be able to compete anymore. If our business keeps growing and growing and growing, man, on the weekends, Sabrina and I are going to be doing things for the business. And eventually we'll have to step back. But man, I've got a bunch of people out there that we've hopefully taught barbecue, that are using our seasonings, that are still continuing to prove our products are good. And every once in a while, yeah, we can step out, maybe 6 times a year or something like that, and hopefully get a GC or 2, or, just get some really good calls, and we can always stay relevant in the scene. But, that's why I think it's important to be serious about this and teach people, and, don't take for granted what we've got right now. And that's a big thing for me. Yeah, I've talked to you about it before. We have worked really hard, and we've talked about this also. Man, a lot of people see the most recent, I'm doing air quotes, success. Sabrina and I still don't feel successful. It's not that we don't enjoy this process. It's not that we don't realize that we have a great following and you guys don't support us. That's not what it is. Sabrina and I are shooting for the stars, for the moon, and we hope that we miss the moon and hit the stars. You know what I mean? We're very like, our minds are always on what can we accomplish. And, sometimes I think that even her and I will realize, man, we need to, let's focus on the now. Let's focus on what we're actually in. But we have major plans for this. And, I think that it's important for us to continue to do things the right way, which I think right now we are doing. But, sorry, that was a rant. But TVs for sure. I would want a few more TVs, I think. And then a spot where we can wash dishes. That was one of our struggles. And that's nothing that the students felt. That was something that you and I felt. And it felt a little frustrating. Like we're like looking for water and soap and stuff to scrub stuff. And we found it. We were able to clean the tools and stuff, but it became a little bit difficult. And then when we had a few minutes of downtime, you actually left, washed dishes, and came back. So something little like that is where I would like to see improvement. But again, the students did not feel that. That was something that you and I felt, but I would still like to improve that. But you asked me that question. What about you? Same questions back at you. What did you think about the whole thing?
Yeah, so the 2 things I thought were most challenging were, as you said, trying to teach and put on the class while also trying to nail a cook. Because, yeah, you want to take all the time that you can to answer everybody's questions, to give them as much detail as possible. But in a competition scene, in which we did our best to follow the timeline of an actual competition.
Yeah.
Now, let's just say we went all the way to 12:01 for that chicken, or 1:05 for the ribs. When in a normal competition scene for CBA, you would have been DQ'd, right? But we still maintained the same timeline we would, but we went into more detail and didn't worry about like it being done right at 12 or right at 1, right at 2.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure everybody got as much detail as possible. Everybody had a chance to answer questions, to taste the meat, to look, because that's the thing is after each turn-in, you want everybody to taste the samples, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you should be starting a process for the next turn-in,
For
right?
sure. Yeah,
So
a couple of our processes are like
Back to
5
back.
minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes after a turn-in. So, yeah, that was just not to cut you off, but that was something that you mentioned. It. I mean, we tried to give them as many chances as they could to learn or look at something or feel something or ask questions. So we thought that was important. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And so you want to, with the number of students we had, that's going to take a little bit of time, right? So that was one of the most challenging things, which really not that it was a huge challenge. I thought we were very successful. And as you mentioned, the other challenge was washing the dishes. Now, normally when we go to a competition, your dad has a whole setup. Everything runs really smoothly. We tried to make sure this time around, because your dad was manning the pit, we really tried to make sure that, we had maybe extra dishes so we didn't have to go back and wash. But there's just things that are very specific tools that we really like to use. So, yeah, luckily, we're right down the road from the house. So I just, like, in between our turn-ins, I would go and just wash the things that I needed and bring them back, which really didn't take long. But that was a plus of having something so close to home.
Yep.
As far as my favorite thing for the class, I think it was the fact that we did nail each protein, and then not only that, but having people try it and see the reactions on their face that like confirms, oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Because
no, I think my favorite part of the whole class was we, air quotes, turned in pork, and I said, all right, anybody have any pork questions? Any pork questions at all? From the trim yesterday to the cook today to the finishing process, any pork questions? And somebody was like, yeah, can I get more pork? And then, I'm not exaggerating, like 7 people walked up and they were eating the pork and they were grabbing the pork and they were like, dude, this pork is like the real deal. And it feels good. It feels for sure good because, we've recently talked about this, like very recently. A lot of the times I feel like you and I don't give ourselves enough credit. That's just kind of who we are. I don't want to call it being humble. I want to call it being, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
we have high expectations of ourselves, so it's like it's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but I do think that we can cook pretty good, but I will never walk up to a contest thinking like, oh, I'm going to mollywop this thing, ever. It's just not who I am. I have respect for everybody else that's there, everybody. And, to have some people that you compete against pretty much every weekend that you're out there, and they're like, dude, that pork is the real deal, like for real. And, it's a great feeling. It's definitely a great feeling. So, I was very happy to see that. And it felt like, okay, a little bit of confirmation for me, for us. We do put out some good proteins, and there's a reason why we've gotten some really good walks. So anyway. Yeah.
And it's, as you mentioned earlier, skepticism isn't the right word, but it's one of those things where it's like, trust the process. When we're reviewing.
I said that literally.
Yeah. When we're reviewing our outline or our recipes with people. And then, for example, with pork, we have a very specific, point that we want to cook that to, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're explaining that to people and they're like, really? That?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, just wait and see
what you think of
it. Yeah, right. After we do everything that we do to it. And then for them to go and taste it and be like,
oh yeah, that's why.
That actually worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then especially because we aren't new to the barbecue competition scene, but we are,
we're not veterans. We've been doing it for 2 years.
Right. So I think and there's so many different ways to cook all these proteins and be successful at it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, when you're showing something that you think really, really works for you, and it's not necessarily the right way to do it, but it's the way that really works for us. And then you show that to somebody, and they're kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then for it to really translate the way you wanted to was really special. So yeah, I
For
really
sure.
loved that everything turned out the way that we wanted. I think if we ran that cook at a competition, our chances were very, very high to win it. That's how good I thought everything turned out, and that's how smooth it turned out. So
For sure.
as I said, even though a challenge was trying to put on the class and cook at the same time, I think we were very successful at it.
I think it almost forced us to be, I don't want to say perfect, but it forced us to be on point, because we were going to feed that food to 25 people, and we knew that. We're like,
Right.
oh gosh, if any one of these 25 people thinks like that was trash, I mean, it's bad. It's not good. So it is very nerve-wracking for sure, but I do feel like we did a pretty decent job for sure. I mean, I definitely do. And it, it's just, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Now, it was hot. It was a little uncomfortable outside, but we made it work. Like Sabrina said, Dad was manning the pit. Shout out to Dad. That's how good Dad is, and how amazing the Outlaw Smoker is, that Dad ran that thing at 3. Every time I walked outside, straight up 300. Straight up 300. Like, the whole time, the pit was running perfectly. I may just have Dad run the pit forever. I'll just hey, keep it at 300 pops, and I'm going to do my thing. And I bet you he'd be happy about that, because he likes being involved for sure. So I actually think of the next contest, I'm just going to tell Dad, hey, start the fire. That's your thing, man. Make sure it sticks at 300. But shout out to Dad. Shout out to Chance V, who showed up, helped out tremendously. Shout out to my nephew Ethan that showed up, took pictures. Actually, I'm going to text him today. I forgot about those pictures. I need to see how, I don't want to put like too much pressure on them, but like how they're coming along. Mm-hmm. I'll text him. But shout out to Ethan. Shout out to my mom, who watched the kids for 2 days in a row. Shout out to my sister Kimberly, who showed up at 5:30 in the morning to lay next to my kids and make sure that they woke up to somebody at home. We have a lot of people on our side that really, really help us succeed. So it means so much to us. But shout out to everybody that helped us out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as things that I would maybe change going forward, as you said, as many angles as we can for TVs for people to view.
We have a million TVs.
Right. It's just finding a way to like get them all set up.
We got one right here we could take with it. We never turn this thing on.
Yeah.
Might as well take this one somewhere.
Right. But just so we tried going in to make sure that every single person, no matter where they were sitting, had a good view. But, sometimes it could always be better, especially if you're in the back. So that's one thing that we are always trying to keep in mind. And then, of course, making sure we have a place to wash the dishes, because, we really have, a lot of specific tools that we really like to use throughout the whole entire cook that are necessary. And it's not like we just have throwaway. I mean, the foil things are really helpful for certain things, but there's things that need to be washed throughout the cook. So that's an important aspect of all of it, right?
For sure.
So those are little things I would change, but other than that, I feel like and these things that we're talking about are very minimal things. They're minimal issues. The whole thing overall was very successful, I thought. So I was really, really happy with it. And not that I was nervous going in, but I was just like, man, this is a lot of prep going into this. You really hope it turns out great. And then after the fact, you sit back and you can say, wow, that actually was so much better than whatever I was thinking it was going to be.
No, I 100% agree with you there. And I think that it was a successful event, like I said earlier, and I can't wait for the next one. Speaking of, we had planned on announcing the next one earlier in the week, as we were going to do it Monday or Tuesday. But because of some of the things that Sabrina and I just talked about, like having somewhere to do the dishes, having the extra space for TVs, we are just looking around and making sure that we do have the best venue. That being said, the venue was incredible. It truly was.
Oh, that sunset when we woke up?
Oh, dude, it was incredible. It was it was such a beautiful venue. The food was incredible both days. They took care of us very, very well. It's nothing on them, or it was not a bad venue at all. We just want to make sure, and we want to look around to make sure that we have the best venue possible for a classroom setting, for us to be outside in a covered area, and then also wash dishes. And we have a cutting board that's like huge.
Yeah.
And you can't just put it in a standard kitchen sink. You can't. So we're looking for something that's maybe like industrial kitchen or something. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for, but we're just going to take our time. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll have something, maybe a little bit earlier if we find the perfect spot. But we are definitely going to take a little bit of time to try and figure out what the next move is. Just be patient with us. We're excited to put on another one, and we hope that you guys are excited to maybe come out, maybe hang out with us.
Yeah, and ideally we would have, something where the pit can be right up there where we're teaching, right up there where we're teaching, so that it's not like, oh, you have to go in and out. But at the same time, this is Texas. We really want everybody to be comfortable and not be sweating the whole entire time. So
yeah,
it might not be an option.
I refuse to do an outdoor class. I don't think that the students would enjoy that at all, and I would not want to put them through that at all. So we may unfortunately not see the stars align with what exactly we want, but we might be able to get something a little bit better. In a perfect world, in the most perfect world, Sabrina and I buy some property, build a classroom, build an outdoor area where we can do all of this, but we're not quite there yet. We're working on it every single day, but we're not quite there yet. So for the time being, we're going to have to look for a decent area for us to do this.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps it up as far as how our competition class went. And like you said, just be on the lookout. We have a month in mind for that the next competition class, but we just got to get all the details in first before we release anything for sure. But now I think let's move on into some questions.
Yeah, so one of the other things that I did want to bring up first was I wanted to let you guys know that as of right now, well, maybe not right now, but today, our hats are back in stock.
Oh, yeah.
And we got a new hat that is in stock as well. So the upside down smoke hat that is our most wildly popular hat by a long shot is back in stock. A lot of you guys have messaged, emailed, texted, and asked when that's coming back. Today, well, it just really depends. But on Friday, what would it be? Friday the 23rd? Mm-hmm. On the 23rd, on Friday, the hats will drop. And we don't know, I don't know exactly what time or anything, but just be on the lookout for Friday, the hats to drop. And we have a new hat that is also dropping at the same exact time. It's going to be the same material. It's going to have the same custom inside. It's got our retro logo. We call it our retro logo. It was actually the first logo that I ever hand drew myself. Now, I didn't draw it that nice, but I hand drew that whole logo, and I had the idea for that logo. So it really does mean a lot to me, but we just felt like our current logo is kind of what it's easy to recognize, brand recognition, and all that stuff. So be on the lookout for that on Friday, May 23rd. I don't know exactly what time, probably sometime in the afternoon, but those hats will drop. And another thing I wanted to bring up, it's kind of funny. Before we get into questions, hopefully we have time for questions, but I wanted to bring this up because we were talking about this at work, and Armando was like, dude, perfect topic for the podcast. Oh, also, shout out to Fred Robles and shout out to Lee Hickle. That's all I'm going to say. But shout out to those two guys, incredible human beings, and I really appreciate them. But that being said, what movie makes you cry the most? So, okay, we were talking about Sing. Okay, if nobody's watched Sing,
so make me emotional already.
Dude, so the other day, the kids have been watching Sing a lot at the house, and it's one of those things where, I'm at work, and sometimes they'll be watching it, and Sabrina and I will be like, I'll be outside cooking, I'll come back in, I'll see a few minutes here, a few minutes there, a few minutes there. So I had seen like a few minutes of Sing here and there, but I had never watched it fully from start to finish. And we were eating Houdat on, what day was that, Wednesday?
Tuesday, Monday.
We were eating Houdat. Shout out Houdat. Houdat is the greatest Vietnamese restaurant in the entire world. We were eating Houdat, and so my son's been loving the song, I'm Still Standing. It's an Elton John song, but Johnny sings it in the movie. And so, dude, it's going to get me emotional thinking about it.
And so for anybody who has never seen Sing, it's a bunch of animals.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert as well. Spoiler alert. So if you guys have never seen Sing and you're interested in seeing it, stop the podcast right now for like the next 5 minutes. But anyway, what were you going to say?
Yeah, so it's a movie about a bunch of animals who like to sing. Some of them, their families support, and some of them, their families do not.
So anyway, I'm like, I'm just eating. We're just eating lunch, dude. And Sabrina starts telling me about, because Son's been like, man, I love this song. And I'm like, and we've been playing it a lot because, you know, we got Apple Music. So we've been playing it a lot. And I'm like, man, like, what? So I'm like, when does this song play? Like, what is, you know, I hadn't seen it. So again, spoiler alert, you might want to stop listening now if you plan on watching Sing. So Johnny's dad is a gang member, right? And they want Johnny to be part of the gang, but he doesn't want to be part of the gang. He wants to sing, right? So he wants to sing. So in the very, very last, what is it, like the play? In the play of it?
Oh, yeah, like when they're actually doing... Well, before that happens, he's supposed to be the lookout guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes to go sing and do his audition, and he doesn't make it back in time, so the dad and the other gang members go to jail, and he tells him, like, he's like, what were you doing? He's like, I went to a singing audition, and he's like, how did I end up with a son like you? So
yeah.
He's very upset that his son is singing instead of being in the gang.
Yeah, so that part's emotional, right? But it's really not even that bad.
Yeah, no.
Not compared to what comes, right? So then Johnny's at the play, and he's singing, and he's killing it. He's like rocking out on the piano. And so, dude, it's going to get me emotional thinking about it. So his dad is in jail. He's in prison, and he's like got his hands on his head. And he's just so mad. And he's like, what are you guys listening to? Turn it off. So they're playing the play on TV because it's like a real popular thing going on right now. And the dad's like, turn it off. And he's like, didn't you hear me turn it off? And then he gets up and he's like, you can tell he's mad. And he's going to go turn the TV off. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's my son. And he's like happy. He's like, that's my son. And then like reality hits, right? And he's like, my son. And then he realized like, dude, I'm not there for my son. So he breaks out of jail and he's like jumping. The helicopter's chasing him and everything. And Sabrina's telling me this in Who Dat, and I'm like,
oh, because you're sitting there eating, right, and listening, and I'm like, yeah. And so the dad breaks out of jail to tell his son he's proud of him. And
bro, I instantly started crying out. Like they're in Who Dat in front of a full restaurant. Like I'm crying. I'm like, I'm not really mad, but I'm borderline like, why would you tell me that right now? Because, you know, we love our kids so much, as I'm sure every single parent that's listening right now does. But like, man, I'll look at my kids sometimes and just be so grateful that they're my kids. And I will start tearing up. Like, how did I get this life with these children that are so incredible? And it's so anyway. So I'm literally there sitting crying about this dang movie, the scene that I hadn't even seen, right? So then we go home that same exact day. Oh, it was on Monday because then you had to, okay. And then the girls are going to ballet, and Alonzo and I will a lot of the time stay back. We'll either cook dinner and have it ready for everybody by the time they come home. We'll just do whatever we got to do. And we were watching Sing, and I watched that part. And I actually didn't cry because I already kind of knew what was going to happen. But, dude, so then I was telling the guys at work, I was like, dude, y'all ever seen Sing? Like, dude, it is crazy. And they're like, oh, bro, like I cried like a baby, like a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And so then we were like, okay, what movie makes you cry the most? So Israel said, not movie necessarily, but have you ever heard of Invincible? I don't know. Okay, again, spoiler alert. I don't know the exact storyline, but there's apparently a part where Omni-Man is his dad, and he's a bad guy, and his son is the invincible guy, and he's beating his son like pretty much to death almost, right? And he's like about to, I think he's about to like off him or whatever, and he's like what, you know, he wants his son to be like, I think a little bit evil like him, and he's like, man, what, you know, you could do this, you could be this, son, you could be this, like, why do you want to be like this? And he was like, what would you have in 500 years if you don't take over the world? And he's like, I would have had you, Dad. Oh, and so Izzy was like, bro, when I heard that, bro, I started crying bad. And then I can't remember what Timmy said. Everybody agreed that my girl, when she's like, he doesn't have his glasses on. Dude, that was a tough one too. But I mean, like, I was so little, I don't know if I necessarily cried, but I would almost for sure cry right now.
Well, that's like like when I was watching Sing with the Kids, they're all like, when that part happened, they're just like, oh yeah, cool. And
yeah,
I'm over here like,
yeah, they don't care.
You know, like,
because they just don't get it yet.
Yeah, all those like freaking, it's not a Disney movie, but all those movies like that, like they freaking make me cry.
Well, but the thing about it is, and we've talked about this before, you and I were never like that. Like you and I were, oh, let's get on every roller coaster, let's watch scary movies, and we didn't, I don't want to say we didn't care, but like we wouldn't cry over movies. And now that we got kids, it's just changed, right? I think our emotions and everything are a little bit, I don't want to say more aligned with each other, but like we're more emotional by a landslide.
Oh no, I'm a crybaby. I'm not a crybaby in real life most of the time, but it's like movies get me emotional. Band of Brothers is one, which it's not a movie, it's like a mini series, but like that one makes me freaking cry like a little baby.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, a lot of stuff that I've seen these days will make me super emotional for sure. But do you have one that comes to mind? Like, what movie makes you cry the hardest?
Gosh, well, I mean, unfortunately, I watch so many like movies with the kids, and they're all like super depressing. Like every single one of them will make me cry. I mean, I can't think of a single Disney or whichever. I don't know what Sing is. It's not a Disney movie, but like all those movies have some sort of like super emotional element where like the parents died or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, those all make me cry. Anything related, to being a parent makes me cry.
Yeah.
But just like super emotional history things. Like I said, Band of Brothers is one that like freaking like destroys me every time.
Yeah, no, I mean, what's the one where he's like, just one more, please God, let me get one more. Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
That one makes me super emotional.
Pursuit of Happiness, when like he's in the like because he's got his kid and like he finally
gets the job.
Yeah, he gets that job.
Yeah, the other one is what's the one with Ashton Kutcher? Aston. What's the one with Ashton Kutcher where he's a life Coast Guard?
Oh,
is that
what the heck? With Kevin Costner.
Yes, dude, that one got me bad in the end.
Yeah,
that one got me super bad in the end because he saves the girl and he was like, was it a girl or a guy?
I don't remember.
Well, he saves someone and they're like, man, where's the other Coast Guard guy?
Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, he said he'd be with me the whole time. Dude, it's making me and like, dude, that one was like, oh, so he's he's out there swimming with him still, like I guess as an angel, as like a guardian angel.
Yeah.
So really, really a lot of emotional movies for sure. And now it's like, let's see. Well, Kaiju didn't do anything to me like that. Neither did Solo, but like Demon Slayer. Oh, dude, Demon Slayer. Like when.
Oh, we already know what's coming up too. With the rest of it too.
It's gonna be bad. Rengoku, that one tore me up. That one tore me up bad. So there's just a lot of things, but I just kind of thought it would be a funny little topic to talk about today on the podcast, and we'll move on to questions here right now. But no recipes this week, man. We tried. I promise. We tried.
Like, the class ends Sunday. We're gonna film on Monday,
and we're gonna film multiple videos. Dude, we were tanked. We were absolutely tanked. So we do apologize. Not much content at all this week. I actually repurposed a few videos just to get some content out. I'm posting pictures and stuff on Facebook, but we'll get back to it this weekend, and we'll work towards making some more videos. But let's go ahead and move on to questions. And we'll start it off with Xavier Gonzalez. Can you inject pork belly? Yeah, I mean, we haven't done it, but I would say that there would be no reason that you couldn't, for sure. I mean, I would think so. Pork belly is very, very savory. For an injection, I would probably go something a little bit sweeter, just so you don't overpower it and make it too salty. But I definitely think you can do that. I wouldn't see why you couldn't, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of meat in. It's mostly fatty, but there's still plenty of meat in there that you can inject for sure. But yeah, just pay attention to what it is you're injecting and pair your injection with what you're injecting.
For sure.
Keating Helm says, let us know where y'all are at with the new products like the glazes and sauces.
Yeah, so the glazes is something that is actively being worked on. Like, I mean, today, yesterday, tomorrow, we are trying to nail them. So we've nailed them at home. We've got them where we want them. The problem, and I don't even want to say it's a problem, but the hurdle right now is just making sure that we get everything in motion the proper way. So Sabrina and I always try and launch our products to be ready to go into a big store. We're not saying that they're going to call. We're not saying that they're asking us. We're saying we want to be ready. Just in case we ever grow this brand to that point, if somebody calls us and says, hey, we want to put your products in our store, man, we've already done FDA testing. We've done shelf life testing.
Right.
We're EDI compliant. We've got UPC. We've got nutritional facts. We are ready to rock and roll. And that's something that's very important to us. So right now the hurdle is matching the recipe at our co-packer compared to what we make at the house. And we found out some stuff about some of the ingredients that we were using when we were cooking it at home. And so that has kind of changed things up just a little bit. And it's not in a bad way or anything. It's just we want to make sure that we're giving you guys products that have good ingredients, stuff that's as healthy as can be. I understand that barbecue products are not necessarily healthy. There's sugar, there's this, there's that. But, for example, we don't want any red 40 in our products. Just, that's just something that we don't want personally. And we're trying to make sure that we put out a good product that everybody can use. And so it's just taking some time. But they are actively being worked on today, tomorrow, the next day, until we get those samples in our hands. And then we say, yep, we're good to go. We love this flavor. From there, we'll print labels, send them to our co-packer, get everything sent over to Texas, and then we're ready to rock and roll. So hopefully very, very soon. I mean, I'm hoping by this year we at least launch 2 of the 3 products that we have ready to go. We've got we've got steak rubs ready to go. We've got some other stuff ready to go, seasonings wise already, but we're focused on something else right now, and we'll get back to the seasonings and we'll do all those things later. But yeah, that's pretty much exactly where we're at. So Joe Vara says, what's the one side dish that must be at every summertime cookout?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yep.
Pico de gallo, rice and beans, which I know that's 3, but they all act as one.
Yeah.
You got to have them all. It's the Trinity.
No. I was going to say pico de gallo, but since you said that, I'll say broccoli salad.
Oh, yeah.
Nice,
that's a good
refreshing.
one. Yeah, especially in the summer.
Really crisp. But yeah, pico de gallo would be mine 1,000,000%.
Absolutely.
Sure. So, Joe, hopefully you have pico de gallo at your next cookout.
Yep. Michael Ramirez says, are you starting to lean more towards pan method for ribs? What are some basic items you need in a good rib wrap?
Michael, we are not leaning towards panning our ribs. We still individually wrap them. And one of the things that I would say that you need in your rib wrap, that's a tough one. Killer Hog's vinegar sauce.
Yeah.
You need Killer Hog's vinegar sauce in your rib wrap. That would be my biggest suggestion for sure. We use the heck out of it.
Yeah. Most important thing, liquids.
Yeah.
Some sort of liquids.
Some sort of liquid and Killer Hog's vinegar sauce.
Yeah,
for
there
sure.
you go.
Alonzo Franco, nice name, brother, says, is there a noticeable difference between an insulated and a non-insulated firebox? Yes. I would say very noticeable. Our insulated firebox on our Outlaw it runs so extremely well. Once it gets hot, even if your coal bed gets really small, it stays hot. You can rock at 300. Man, I think it is very important to have an insulated firebox if it's in your budget. If it's in your budget to get a very, very large, nice smoker like an Outlaw, which I recommend everybody in the world get, and you definitely want the insulated firebox. I actually don't think Jay builds it any other way, but shout out to Jay, by the way. But yeah, I definitely think it's a huge deal. Also, an uninsulated firebox, like with our old one, dude, I would hurt myself on it. It got so hot, it would actually kind of mess up the tires. Remember that?
Yeah,
and there was a few things with it, but I definitely think you need to go insulated for sure.
Yeah, I think it's worth the money to have a pit that can stay consistent as far as temps. Jordan Harwell says, what is your fire setup nowadays for the Weber Smoky Mountain? Do you dump charcoal in the middle or near the open vent for the minion method? And what temp do you like cooking at on it?
So our method has changed a lot because we were cooking on drums for so long. Now I use a torch. And I do like to light it closest to one of the vents because the way I run my Weber Smoky Mountain is only one of those vents is wide open or choked back a little bit on the bottom. So I'll get about a third of the coals lit. I'll fill the basket up all the way with lump charcoal, Royal Oak lump charcoal, and I'll get that torch and I'll light near one of the vents, and that's going to be my open one the whole time. Man, I like to run around 300 degrees. I just think it lets off really, really good heat. You're going to get a good flavor from those drippings hitting the coals, and that's my most ideal way to cook on the Weber Smoky Mountain these days for sure. Laura Louise says, shout out Laura, says, stupid chicken. What's the trick to getting the flavors and keeping the skin from pulling? So keeping the skin from pulling, I would say you want to sacrifice a half. You want to cut way over on one half so you have that extra skin that's going to wrap around the actual chicken. Also, don't be afraid to trim some of your chicken, like the actual meat or the cartilage or the bone. With a good pair of shears, you can trim it up a little bit like that thigh. You can kind of make it a good shape, and it'll wrap around that, and it'll be all good to go, in my opinion. As far as the flavors, that's something that we're working on ourselves. But we've tried to go to a really simplistic recipe, let those chicken flavors shine through with just a little bit of added flavor, and then just a standard really, really good barbecue sauce. So we'll see how it works out, but definitely try sacrificing a half in order to get some extra skin that you can wrap around that chicken. I don't pin it or anything like that, but I do find that sacrificing a half, I never have issues with the skin.
Yeah, and I think with chicken, it's like a strength and a weakness at the same time, depending on how you do it with flavors. But chicken's such a blank slate. You can really use a lot more bold flavors if you wanted to, which could be a strength. Or you can keep it really simple, which could be a strength, or they could both be weaknesses, depending. I mean, when it comes to ribs are usually always going to taste like ribs. Brisket's always going to taste like brisket, but chicken's one of those things where it tastes like nothing most of the time. So you could really go one way or the other, trying to put so much flavor in it, or just trying to keep it very, very simple. But that's why I think chicken is everybody's nemesis for the most part.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you on that. And I think that it's taken us a little bit of time to dial it back and figure out what flavors we feel like are going to work, and we'll see if they continue to.
Manuel Orozco says, are y'all working on a new rub yet or not quite yet? I think we're always working on something.
Mm-hmm.
We always have, ideas in our head that we want to try out at home. And our philosophy almost is, if we can, with the exception of like Killer Hogs products, because we really do love them, if we can implement our own products into, and not just for competition, at home, wherever competition, if we can implement our own products 100% of the way, it's just easier for us. One less thing we have to buy from somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So we're always working on something, but right now the main focus is on the glazes, or putting those out first.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that, it's a process with the glazes, and I don't want to say we thought it would be easier. I don't necessarily know what I thought, but it is taking a little bit longer than a seasoning would. So we're just trying to get past this. And then we'll refocus on some of the seasoning buns that we've already got. Jonathan Brunette says, with your sauce for ribs, do you use a mixture of sauce and your glaze, or have you gone to strictly glazing? They always look fire. That is a mixture of our glaze and Killer Hogs barbecue sauce, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it really has been giving it a great flavor. I've been loving the color that we're getting on our ribs, and we will not be changing anytime soon.
Blake Leanweber says, have you tried other charcoal brands? B&B, Texas Original, Royal Oak, why? Just curious if you've compared them. We've tried, I think a lot of these name brand products are very, very good. The main thing that we've seen a difference in is like store brand charcoals. I mean, I feel like those are the ones that are going to not run as smoothly. And we've done a test before on this. You just get a lot more smoke, that nasty smoke in the beginning. But yeah, I think all those name brands that you just listed are very, very good. And we love Royal Oak so far.
And Royal Oak, in my opinion, it really is my favorite so far. And there's a few reasons why. So some of the other charcoal brands, they burn very, very, very hot. And I actually think that can be somewhat of a problem, because then you start burning stuff. Even when it comes to like a steak rub that doesn't have very many sugars, you can still burn that up. Your grates, what they'll do is they'll get way too hot, and it'll cause everything to stick to it. Even if you throw oil on your steak or on your protein, you'll get a lot of sticking. Now, Royal Oak burns nice and hot. It's still plenty hot, but I found that it's just a more consistent heat, and I really have enjoyed it. You know, I told Sabrina, I don't know, maybe a couple months back or whatever, I was like, man, I'm really liking this Royal Oak because of the fact that it has that consistent heat. It gets hot, but it doesn't get extremely hot. And I think that some of these brands, they market having the hottest briquette or the this briquette or the that briquette. All that's fine and dandy, but I think that sometimes too hot is too much, and it's not that good. But yeah, Royal Oak, we've loved it so far. They've come out with the hickory infused briquettes. It has like a hickory pellet in there, which we love. I love their charcoal pellets as well. We've grilled steaks with it, and it literally tastes like we grilled it on a kettle. So I just love their products. And the reason why with Royal Oak is because, you know, it feels like a family for us. We feel very welcomed with them, and they're great about supporting what we're doing, sharing our content, and it's just been a great family atmosphere with them since day one. So Royal Oak for the win for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so I think that was pretty much all that we had for the podcast today. Thank you guys so much again. Whoever came out and supported the class, we genuinely appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts, and we cannot wait to do it again. We're going to continue to compete. Not as much in the summer. Sabrina and I have made that conscious decision. We did it last year. We'll do it again this year, where we do a little bit less competitions in the summer just because it is so brutally hot. We have 3 young kids, and, you know, I still have a day job, so it gets a little bit tough to kind of do everything all at once. So during the summer, we do kind of take a little bit of a break. We'll do basically one competition a month for around 4 or 5 months, but then when it gets a little bit cooler, we'll start picking it back up, and we kind of can't wait to get back into it. But if you don't have anything else, I think we should be good for the day, huh?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. So if you guys have not subscribed to the channel, now's a perfect time to do that. We are closer and closer to 100,000 subscribers every single day. We appreciate the support. We appreciate everybody that's already subscribed to the channel. And if you guys are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any of the podcast playlists, man, share this with a friend. Maybe they like barbecue, or maybe they like hearing us talk about what movie makes us cry the most.
Yeah, and we want to know yours. Put them in the comments down below.
Yeah, what movie makes you cry the most? That'll be a really good topic for a discussion. If there's nothing else that you've got, I'm good. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.